Hello and welcome to another episode of Taylor Talks Comics. Today we are going to go over the IDW Library Collection, Godzilla, Volume 1. Stay tuned. And we're back. So yes, this is the first Godzilla library collection from IDW. They do have a second volume solicited for coming out in March or April, I believe, of this year. This seems to be a new effort from IDW to do these library edition collections, collecting every issue of a title that they've published. So this one is Godzilla, obviously. They're doing also, I think, Dungeons & Dragons and Star Trek and similar collections, which is really nice. Here's the spine. I will say that my spine seems to be off a little bit on its the way they fitted it. I don't know if that's a common problem for all of these, or just mine. It's not a huge issue. Just wanted to point it out. So on the spine, you have their little library collection logo. It's like a book with a number 1 in it. It says Godzilla Library Collection, IDW. I do like the front presentation too because it looks like a library card catalog. Was it the Dewey Decimal System? Is that what it's called? Man, I'm old. I should know this. But it has like the G highlighted for Godzilla. It has like the Dewey Decimal Code right there, and then highlighted as Arts and Recreation. You see a Volume 1 on there, and you see the artwork. Then on the back, it says Godzilla Library Collection is a comprehensive line of books that will collect every Godzilla comic series published by IDW. Engaging, thrilling, beautiful, incredibly entertaining. So you get a little description of the book back there. And this is a standard size paperback. So these, I kind of compare these to the Marvel Epic collections because that's like a comprehensive way of collecting every issue of Marvel without skipping any issues. That's what this appears to be. I will say I'm not an expert in how all of the Godzilla comics that IDW has put out, so I don't know if this is chronological in nature in the sense that these are being put out in the same exact order that they were published, or if they're like, I don't think they're story in order by story chronologically because they're not all working with the same continuity, so I don't think it would be that. I'm assuming it's probably just based on when they came out. Maybe the indicia would tell us. No. But it will show you that this collects the miniseries Godzilla Gangsters and Goliaths issues 1 through 5, Godzilla Legends issues 1 through 5, and Godzilla the Half Century War issues 1 through 5. So Half Century War is in here. I have the oversized hardcover of Half Century War. You can see it's a little bit taller in nature. Sorry, trying to show it off here. So that their tops are lined up right there. And you can see the hardcover is a little bit taller than it. The hardcover is the same size as like a Marvel DC Omnibus. So I have 5 of the issues that are in here already collected here. They recently came out with the James Stokoe, I think they called it a Godzilla Deluxe Edition, which included the Godzilla and Hell issues that James Stokoe did as well in that hardcover. But that one is standard size hardcover. So I opted to keep this. And I'm assuming that if I keep collecting these library collections, I'll have the Godzilla and War chapters in these as well. But I digress. I will say that I love this. I wish it was even bigger sized. I think all Kaiju comics should be like giant, massive, oversized hardcovers to match the nature of the giant Kaiju monsters inside. But I digress. All right, so this is my first time reading all of the other comics besides Half Century War in here. My first time reading Gangsters and Goliaths and all the Godzilla Legends. The Godzilla Legend stories are all have a different, completely different creative team on each issue, and they're all about a different kaiju monster that takes place within like the mythos of Godzilla. So you have like, forgive me if I'm butchering this, Anguirus, Rodan, Titansaurus, Hidoro, and Kumanga. I'm not a Godzilla expert, please. So the way this book is laid out has a pretty decent table of contents. I wish it had page numbers on here, because they do have page numbers throughout. And this is one thing I want to note, how great this is. I love page numbers in collected editions. And people say, like, well, in modern collections, you can't do it because there's full bleed on the pages, and you can't put a page number on there. Look at this. IDW figured it out. You can have even on a full bleed page, you can put a freaking page number. So all those people are like, with Jonathan Hickman's collections that are super confusing and you can't tell what issue you're reading or what page you're on. Look at this, full bleed, page number. And it doesn't interfere with the art. It's just a little tab on the bottom. You're still seeing the amazing 2-page spread here by James Stokoe on this page. It doesn't interfere with the art. You still have a page number. Thank you, IDW, for figuring that out. Other publishers, take note. Sorry, that's my little rant for the day. But, IDW, if you're going to put page numbers, have them on your table of contents. Just when the issues begin. No big deal. Just let us know so we know what we're reading. So if I need to go back and reference who's working on which issue, I can do that nice and easily. So they have page numbers here. So it's like this chapter of these 5 issues starts on page 4. This chapter starts on 126, and this one's 248. But just put it by each issue. And I will say, too, I don't understand so they have Gangsters Goliath 1 here. I would assume that was a cover image for issue 1. But some of these numbers in here, maybe I'm dumb and I can't figure it out. But there's one in particular that's really confusing. Let's see if I can find it. I should have tabbed it. If anybody from IDW is watching this, and you can explain to me, maybe explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old, as Michael Scott would say, because it was confusing to me. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay. So this one ends here. This is the end of the Godzilla Legends issue. Whatever it's called. Godzilla Legends Kamunga. And then you get this number 2 with this monster. And then Half Century Wars has a number 3 on the next page. Is that telling me this is the end of the second section of the book? And this is the beginning of the third section? Like, what is this number 3? Because it's not representative of the issue, because this is the first issue of Half Century War. So I don't know what these numbers and these monsters mean. I have no idea. I was very confused by this. Because I thought it was like a issue number. Like, this is issue number 1. But it's not. Very confusing. You do have these great pinups in here, though. So for the most part, I like how this book's laid out. I do have some critiques, though. You get all these great pinups, which is awesome, because as you can imagine, every comic book artist in the world wants to work on doing a piece of art by Godzilla, or a piece of art of a giant kaiju monster, Godzilla. You can't go much wrong with having Geof Darrow, Art Adams, James Stokoe, these hyperly detailed, obsessive in nature, in mark making on the page. Then those 3, and they all do great kaiju monsters. They're all represented in this book, with Geof Darrow and Art Adams being represented in pinups, and then James Stokoe doing an entire story. But this is Gangsters and Goliaths. So here's the cover to it, and it does have a good credit right here. Art by Alberto Ponticelli and colors by J Photos. So I like that because there's no, the way the issue was originally laid out, there's no, I'm assuming the credits were on the cover like they do in modern comics. So it's good that they kept that there. So this first story, Gangsters and Goliaths, is, as you can imagine, about gangsters and Goliaths. It takes place in Japan, where there are mobsters, which are the gangsters in question, and the Goliaths are the kaiju monsters. So it's this really great story that's like riveting, with all these twists and turns. Here's a great piece by James Stokoe, great pinup, to give you a nice chapter break. They do have nice chapter breaks. Here's the cover, and here's the credits. But it's very riveting, because you're following this guy who's trying to run away from the mob, because he thinks what they're doing is wrong. He's trying to put a stop to him before they kill him. When I say run away, before they kill him, he wants to put a stop to him and an end to him. But there are living in this world where there are giant kaiju monsters as well. So the guy decides that the way he's going to stop the mob. Incredible piece here by Dan Brereton. Again, these pinups are always a fun treat whenever you get to a new one. And here's chapter 3, issue 3. But see, there's no indication that this is issue number 3 either. I kind of wish it had like little issue number 3 down here. But I digress. So he's going to use kaiju monsters in order to stop them up. And it's riveting. There's all kinds of twists and turns throughout that story as far as who's on whose side, which monsters are going to help him. I love this foreboding image, too, of Godzilla coming from the water. Lots of great artwork throughout this entire thing. And here's Godzilla attacking a city. I mean, that's what you buy these comics for, like, right? Like, you don't buy a Godzilla comic to see people talking and drinking coffee. You buy Godzilla comics to see him destroying crap. Great eyeballs. Like, so cinematic in the art style here by Alberto Ponticelli. Really, really good stuff. Here's an Alberto Ponticelli pinup. And here's the next cover. So this artwork on the cover... See? No, I'm... Okay, hold on a second. Written by John Layman. Alberto Ponticelli does the interiors, J Photos on colors, John Layman on letters. Okay, so this cover is done by Paul Hanley, with colors by Josh Perez. So the credits on the cover pages are just talking about the cover itself, not the interiors. So the actual credits for the interiors are found at the beginning of the book, I guess. Again, giant monsters fighting. That's all you want this to be, right? But it also tells a really good riveting story in the midst of it. And then Mechagodzilla. Here's a great Geof Darrow piece. I love Geof Darrow. Anything he does, I will always mark out for. A great 2-page spread of Mechagodzilla coming to attack Godzilla with Mothra. Oh, you see all these other ones too. So really, really fun story. I was really kind of surprised with how much I enjoyed Gangsters and Goliaths. And then here we get to Legends. So this, again, here's a number 1. I guess that's the end of the part 1. In the beginning of part 2. And then we'll see the number 2 at the end of this again to designate the end of part 2. I don't know. Those numbers are really confusing. I guess, again, maybe I'm dumb and I can't figure it out. Here's a great pinup. So Arthur Adams does all the covers for the Legends series. So you get to see Arthur Adams working with all these different monsters. And this is Anguirus with Peter Doherty on the colors here. Arthur Adams is incredible. And then here's Bob Eggleton on the... I guess that's the actual cover. Maybe these were variants of that issue. I will say that these Legends issues were hit or miss. Some of them are really, really great and fun. Some of them were just kind of okay. The artwork throughout is incredible regardless. This art style is very like anime looking, which is fun, to see. I'm not familiar with this artist work in general, but it wasn't bad by any means. So each chapter of these Legends is kind of about a different monster in the world of Godzilla. Here's another great Art Adams piece of Rodan. Sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong. I'm sure there's Godzilla experts watching us screaming at their screens right now. Chris Scalf on that page, on that cover. Who's the artist on these interiors? Because I like this one a lot. The Rodan issue. See, this is what I do when I'm reading. I'm always flipping back and forth. Art Simon Gain. Between the table of contents on the front page. Because I want to know the team working on the issue I'm reading. So the publisher's making that as accurate and clear as possible. It's always great to my mind. But yeah, this is a fun story. I think this might have been my favorite of the Legend stories, this Rodan story. And then here's the next one about Titanosaurus, the Art Adams piece. I love Art Adams, like, the way he builds up his clouds and stuff in the background there. It reminds me of, like, Basil Wolverton. I don't know if that's an inspiration for him or not, but it's definitely there. Here's another Bob Eggleton piece. This story was just okay to me, this one. Again, these Legend stories were kind of hit or miss. None of them were bad, though. Like, and they're only one issue long, so it's not like you're, like, just struggling to get through this entire comic book. It's only one issue, and then you're done. But I don't know, maybe there just wasn't enough kaiju fighting in that story for me. Hedorah is like this one was really, really great. Chris Scalf on that page, and then Arthur Adams piece right here. Because you get Mechagodzilla in this one, and who doesn't love to see Mechagodzilla being driven by these different mechs or different pilots. And I love this piece too. Again, like kind of like the when I was showing you earlier, the building of Godzilla coming out of the water. This is Mechagodzilla. You see like Hedorah creeping up behind him, and you can see him fighting. Giant kaiju-sized swamp monster fighting a giant dinosaur-shaped robot. I mean, what more do you want in comics? That's all I expect from Godzilla comic system, to be like fun, bombastic, destructive. Those are my expectations. Here's another Arthrodon piece. And then Bob Eggleton. Oh, this story is really great too. I like this one. Oh, this guy that's trying to climb Godzilla, I think is what his story is. And he's bringing this like protective suit to not get covered in radioactive material and get sick from it. And then we get to Half Century War. So this is worth the price of admission alone. Is Half Century War. If you've not read this, you have multiple ways to pick it up. Like I said, you have like this hardcover, which is just a hardcover. I don't know, it has no like designation of title, or the deluxe edition, which is actually smaller than this one, or this library collection, which is a great way to collect it as well. I will say the size difference in this oversized hardcover isn't as big of a deal to me as other comics. Like it's not like library sized, like you'd get from Dark Horse Comics or something like that. So the size actually isn't that big of a deal if you are worried about having something oversized. I'm trying to do a comparison of art here. Oh, see, the way they collected in this book, the covers are all in the back, and the actual cover image is smaller than you get in this here. I was trying to do some comparisons of art here. That piece is amazing, by Frank Terran. That would be a great piece to have on your wall. Let's see here. But James Stokoe is one of my favorite artists in comics today. Absolutely love his work. So as you can see, like this is a bigger image here than here, but it's not so much of a difference that I'd be like, you have to have this in this hardcover. If you just want to try it out. Yeah, you can see the image is definitely bigger, but not by much. It's not like a dramatic degree. And then just one last comparison, because this is a great 2-page splash. Yeah, you can see that the one on the left is bigger, but not by a dramatic degree. So first thing I want to know before I get into what the story's about is how cool this is. James Stokoe actually took the original Godzilla roaring noise from like the movies, ran it through his computer, and then like the sound waves that it made, he traced that on here to do the roar of Godzilla. So this lettering right here of the roar of Godzilla is actually mirrors the exact sound waves of the original Godzilla monster from the original movie. This is a cool little Easter egg for you. But Half Century War is like a modern day Moby Dick type story. In nature, because Moby Dick had what was his name? Ahab. Ahab was like the guy that was constantly trying to find Moby Dick, right? He was trying to hunt the white whale. It's not like exactly mirroring that story, but you do follow this character here as through a Half Century War, through 50 years, as he's following the birth of Godzilla, his first appearance in the city of Tokyo, destroying the city of Tokyo, into the next decade of how they're reacting to not only Godzilla, but some of these other kaiju monsters that are appearing. And is he trying to kill him? Are they trying to kill Godzilla, or what is it? Here they're in Vietnam, so you get the Vietnam War kind of included in here. And then you see all these other kaiju monsters appearing. He's got the Monster Masher vest on the back, which is also mirrored, like the Vietnam soldiers and stuff would always have like cool nicknames or something on their helmets and whatnot, so it's kind of mirrors that. But they're trying to kill Godzilla, but then they also all these other kaiju monsters start appearing. So is Godzilla an ally? Maybe, sort of. Is he like an anti-hero? I don't want to spoil how that story is paced out for you, but each decade you see the story develop as far as like where Godzilla is, how he's impacting the world negatively or positively, and then also all the different other kaiju monsters involved. So you get the cover by James Stokoe. Here's a great variant cover by Brandon Graham, who's an amazing artist, one of my favorites also. Totally different style than James Stokoe, so it's kind of cool to see. And then they go to Ghana in the 70s. So you start to see how this is. You see our guy here, even more torn down and riddled from this as he's looking on at all these giant kaiju monsters fighting. Is he going to give up or not? Then you kind of get this faction warfare. So it's like the Megalon, Mothra, Rodan, Ibira, Hedorah, and Batra. As these different guys are like hunting the different monsters. Great splash page. Look at that. James Stokoe, his artwork is just absolutely incredible. And I love the candy-colored palette that he uses for all of his comics as well. It really brings a different kind of nature to his comics that help make it stand out from any other comic on the stands. You know, even in spite of the great mark making that he's doing. There's a John Kantz piece. It looks like something from an 80s metal band. Like you see that painted on a van in the 80s. And then our story is progressing till we get to the last part of it. And I don't want to spoil the ending for you. I don't want to spoil the story for you. To me, of all of the kaiju monster comics I've read and Godzilla comics I've read, this is my favorite. It's Half Century War by James Stokoe. It's absolutely brilliant. So in the back here, there's not a lot of extras, but this is a piece by Arthur Adams. Oh, those are all of his covers for the Legends, and they actually create a connecting cover. Now I feel dumb. All right, so that's a big connecting cover of all the, of just the black and white art of all those Godzilla Legends covers. Here's a Geof Darrow piece, and look how insane this is. Before you color it, like, you can't even make out what's on the freaking page. Just absolutely insane. And you get James Stokoe next to it. And Alberto Ponticelli. I don't even know if you're supposed to pronounce his name with the accent like that, but I am. And then Godzilla Library Collection. So I got this as to see if I want to keep collecting these library collections, and the answer is yes. I will definitely be collecting further volumes. I hope they collect all of the comics. I hope they finish it off and collect all the Godzilla comics they come out with. It just, as reported on Taylor Talks Comics Live, yes, I do have a live show every week that I do where I talk about the comic book industry news. Last week we covered it, but Tom Scioli is doing a Godzilla comic. Absolutely love Tom Scioli. I've said this a few times in this video already, but I don't care. One of my favorite artists going today is Tom Scioli, so I can't wait to see what he has in store for Godzilla. IDW still carries the Godzilla license, so these library collections can keep going to the future. But also in 2024, we are going to have Godzilla comics published by 4 different publishers in collected editions, which is quite incredible. Godzilla in Kong, like the one that's an adaptation of the forthcoming movie, is being put out by Titan Comics. We're getting Godzilla Library Collection Volume 2 put out by IDW. We have Godzilla versus Kong versus Justice League. I think it's Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. Regardless, that's being put out by DC Comics. And then we're also getting the Godzilla King of the Monsters Omnibus Edition by Marvel Comics. So if you're a Godzilla fan in 2024, 4 different publishers are putting out Godzilla comics. How awesome is that? Thanks for watching, guys. Comment down below. Give the video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification icon so you know when I'm going live. Shop over at organicpricebooks.com. Use my promo code TaylorTalksComics, all one word, to save you $2 off of your order. If you put a bigger order in, order 4 or more books, you want to use TTC, ship it together, that'll save you 5% off of your order. Guys, have a great day. Keep reading comics.